Welcome to Progress in San Diego, Ordinary People Doing Extraordinary Things. I'm your host, Walter Davis, and with me this evening I have the distinct honor to have one of our newest, soon-to-be executive producers on the Community Coalition television series, Mr. Rick Ireton.
Hey, Walter.
And welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Rick.
Thank you.
Rick is very unique in that we're going to have a discussion today about love. We don't typically have discussions about love, and it's one of the most fundamental things that we need to be talking about in our communities. Rick has a very unique way of exploring this topic in a way that we can quantify it, which I think is quite effective. And so very briefly, what I want to discuss with you is that we have a history of loveless acts going on in our community. The way that we warehouse people now, we have people with mental problems put in prison. We have people put in prison and they don't get any rehabilitation. And then they come out and they have to be career criminals because they can't find a job. We have unemployment. We have war. So we're talking about balanced budgets. We're talking about arresting people. And we have people being arrested in this country every 38 seconds for a drug offense. And our prison population is increasing by 10,000 people every month. 1 out of every 99 Americans is in prison. We have more people in prison than in the Soviet Union, China, Syria, and other countries. So among those things, we also have war that we cannot afford to pay for. Over $4 billion a week is being spent on wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, while our schools are shutting down, while we have a debate over health care, and while elderly people are not certain about their retirements, and we have American citizens that can't get access to health care. So there may be a better way of doing things, and that's what we're going to be exploring, and we're going to be talking about the topic of love. And so with that, I'm going to turn this over to Rick. So Rick, can you tell me something about yourself and why this topic is so important to you, love?
Well, it's just the most important thing there is to all of us. We're emotional beings. And just going back a little bit, just to tell you a little bit about why I kind of came onto the topic as something of study. And I began the study of love talking to a buddy of mine about the topic of abortion. And we were talking about how abortion is such a, there doesn't seem to be any right answer to it. And his answer was that their only answer to the abortion issue was love, and that every pregnancy needs to be looked at from a perspective of the particular pregnancy, and that love weighs all things. And so basically, based on this new wisdom I got about the idea of love as the answer, I started looking into love, and I've been researching the topic of love for the past 12 years, and this is a result of my work right here.
So it's very interesting. Again, that's another issue where there is a lack of love, the way
Right.
that babies are killed in our society, and this is used as a methodology of birth control.
Yeah.
So
Very unloving.
Very unloving. Yeah, you're right. And so there are some solutions. So go forward. What else do you want to talk about in terms of yourself and this topic, sir?
Well, just wanting to kind of get into it because we've just covered a lot of topics here, and the basis of love begins with questions that we would ask ourselves as who are we? We have to identify. Are we just a primate, or are we spiritual beings? And what I have found is basically some science that proves that we are spiritual beings in bodies. And while we have a body, we all have these bodies, we have all kinds of different bodies, we're all unique spiritual beings. And that's what these boards kind of illustrate how, and provide some evidence to that effect.
They're evidence of our spirituality and us as spiritual beings. Tell me about that. How do these boards convey that?
Well, what I discovered in my research was, I was researching, first went to the Bible, and researching the ideas of love through Christ, and also researching the heart through the Hindu wisdom, which led me into the chakras. And what this shows us here, this is Chakra Man, and basically the Hindus have known for years of our chakras, and it had a lot of wisdom about our chakra system. And basically, this wisdom in itself proves that we have this energetic system, and that we have, and that in essence, our spirit essence is woven into our body, and that our spirit, in essence, powers our body. And what I noticed in my further research was that the Jewish menorah is this sacred symbol. And when you turn the Jewish menorah 90 degrees, as I've done here, what the menorah provides us with is a map that illustrates the interrelationship of our chakras. And so what I've done is to combine Hindu wisdom of chakras and of our body with this map provided by the Jewish menorah, and within this gives us a hierarchy of understanding how our body works, why we don't tear ourselves up, why we aren't just animals, and how we can, because as our body, the body wants physical things. It wants the water and food, and the sacral chakra is our sex drive. It wants sex, and the idea of power and love, and our throat chakra illustrates how we want to communicate.
Now the solar plexus, that's greed, is that not?
Well, it's natural to have a drive for power, and the concept is that as we are evolving, we are looking for water and for food, and if we find a male or a female, and then the natural thing is to build walls to protect what we have. So we all of us, we're all made with a natural drive to survive and for sex and for power, and a certain amount of power is a good thing. The problem arises when somebody wants to own it all. Okay? And so what I'm proposing is that as we are, as man, we all share the same drives, and we all share the same needs, and that God gave us this ability, gave us these drives so we'd survive on earth, but all of this is so that we might excel in this area here, and that is that we all might be loving, we might know love and be able to comprehend the idea of brotherhood, and that we might be able to be expressive. And these are our natural gifts are up here as far as our ability to sing, to play music, to dance, and to be an expression.
Now, the heart chakra connects all the rest. I see that the rest of these things are connected to the heart chakra.
Right. Yeah.
And our power is in the throat chakra.
Yeah.
And then the brow, that would be intellect? Would that be our intellectualism?
Well, this is where we see, it's our sixth sense, and it's our mind, so it's, of course, very important. Life is basically mental, but it also shows through the branches how our brow chakra is energetically connected to our sex drive, our sex chakra. And so this is an important connection, and we can talk, a lot about that.
Sure.
So, but what's also another drawing, maybe you can show a little close-up on this one. This is another image I found in doing some research. I found this on the internet. This is basically it was made from a crop circle. And what it illustrates, it basically shows us the same thing as the Chakra Key, only this image illustrates the size of our big old heart chakra. And so the concept is, even within our body, you've got two entities living together. The body wanting sex and these certain things, very powerful drives, but God wanted us to be able to live up in our higher chakras. And so the idea is we have these two entities both wanting power, but the reason they don't fight and tear each other apart is we have this large heart center that basically overpowers both of them. So the heart, and through love, we can find center and balance. And so this is a beautiful symbol that we can use to apply to all kinds of issues that we face. And
so what you're talking about is us going and becoming more aware of these higher levels of existence up here. The crown chakra, which you didn't really talk that much about, has to do with our sense of spirituality. Is that not
absolutely.
correct?
Absolutely.
So what I'm hearing you say that far too much perhaps is spent in these lower areas, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, having to do with power.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the reasons why we have the massive unemployment, because now we have what I call the corporatocracy, or the ruling class in this country, hoarding the money and not making that available, making money a scarcity. Diamonds are scarce, homes are scarce in terms of being available to a large segment of the population. Thus, we have homelessness, we have people living on the street, yet others living in opulence. We have massive unemployment because we are focused on these other areas here, and people are more focused on obtaining power and greed. Our prisons are bursting open because we're not existing in our higher level. This warehousing of people because they have mental illness, or because they're when they do the crime, they continue doing the time. And so people are punished for the rest of their lives because they committed a criminal act. Rather than getting rehabilitated, they are thus warehoused in prison, and with the three strikes law, they can be in prison for the rest of their lives and never be turned into productive citizens. That's certainly not a very loving approach, and it seems very barbaric when you think about it.
It's very barbaric, and really, with all of this, with our very life, the reason we're here as spiritual beings is about education. It's about learning. It's about growing in love, about growing in awareness of who we are as spiritual beings, understanding our body. The more we understand what's going on with the body, the more we can say, okay, I can see those feelings, I can relate to those feelings, but that's not what I'm about. I'm going to make my life an aspiration for the greater things that I'm capable of. Mm-hmm. And it's very much based on education. Our goal for one another should be completely education. Our money should not be spent on bombs and on outside our country. Love is a concept, and we haven't talked too much about love, but there's a lot of beautiful love wisdom, and the concept that love is a flow of giving and receiving. When I buy your stuff, I'm loving you. When you buy my stuff, it's an act of loving me. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we work for each other. Again, then love is a flow of giving and receiving. And it's, we haven't even talked about the energy aspect of all this, but all of this is very energetic. And it's how we feel about it. It's our attitude towards one another. If I look at you as a spiritual brother, fellow student, and teacher, and you look at me as the same, our attitude about each other changes. And ultimately, we're all divine beings. We're all here for a reason. We all have gifts to share, we have songs to sing, we have lessons to learn. And if our attitude is one of helping one another through the lessons in life, and some of them are tough lessons, but applauding one another through the gifts that we have to share, and making venues for people to express those things. There needs to be a lot of little stages for little girls to do their ballerinas, and guys to dance, and people to sing and play music. I mean, this is why we're here. We're here to party and to express this joyousness of loving humanity. That's what it's about. It's not about having slaves, or being a slave, or being it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. It's like we need a certain amount of money to be healthy and to be happy and to be able to live in our higher aspirations. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Nobody needs to rule the world.
But unfortunately, it appears as though the people of the corporatocracy, or the ruling class or classes in these various countries, are focused on attempting to rule the world. And it appears as though they are focused on hoarding the money and not allowing people to have money. It appears as though we are in a spiral of endless wars. We'll be spending $4 billion a week on warfare. We have a corrupt banking system that is not distributing money. They've taken our tax dollars in terms of more than $800 billion, and then they haven't spent it. They haven't released that money. We have corporate subsidies going into this corrupt central banking system, and in addition to that, these corporate entities are paying off our politicians. They're paying off our congressmen, and so our votes are being nullified by the monetary system. So it looks like we're in a very primitive state, according to what your discussion is right now.
Well, we are, and it's a matter of evolution. And I think the thing about it is that we are all very clever. And given a game, and in a way our government and our life it's an evolution of thought. And what I'm proposing is that this is a new evolution of thought. And that we need to look at a new game, collectively. And I would submit that most people are loving people. I mean, when you get off on a game and you think, okay, this is the way the game's played, whoever gets the most money, whoever has the most power, you know that somehow you're winning the game. Mm-hmm. And that's really not the objective of life. And I think that once people of power and persuasion get with the program and the light comes on, or there's some enlightenment, they'll see that, hey, this is not what it's about. And we're all here as brothers, we're all in this game together. And the best thing we can do is to be loving to one another. Because ultimately, what goes around, if I'm hurting you, I'm hurting myself. Mm-hmm. And if I've got and this is the great problem with war, which I hate to get into this, but the great problem with war is the concept is that we would love our children, raise them up, and now all of a sudden there's nothing for them to do. There's no jobs for them in the community. And their best opportunity is to go into the military, where you've got another organization that's teaching these kids how to kill people. And that is completely disconnected from who they are as spiritual beings. Then you have this other problem with them getting involved with that and killing themselves. It's a nightmarish situation that we're in right now on many levels. And we need to have a great awakening where we realize that it's not about dealing with without, it's all about within. And maybe we can talk a little bit about our jobs. Because ultimately we're talking about, the issue begins with love. All of our issues, whether it's a criminal justice system, whether it's the military, whatever issue is at hand, it all boils down to love. And there's some fundamentals of love. And we know that the golden rule is the rule. And ultimately, the golden rule is about what goes around comes around. It's do unto others as you have others do unto you. And everything boils down to that as far as especially within our jobs. We need to be making the products that we use every day. You know, we're also wonderfully talented in so many areas, and we need to be making our own soaps. When you go into a grocery store and you see products in that grocery store, we need to be making all that stuff. We need to be making our clothes. We need to be making our own food. And on a multiple level, there's plenty of things to do. It's just, we're so good at, some people are so good at doing things like Procter & Gamble and having all these scientists, and pretty soon Procter & Gamble's making everything. So there's nothing left for anybody else to do. And so that's part of the problem. So anyway, it's all about brotherhood. It's all about being that expression, what's in your heart to do. If you're inspired about dancing, or if you're inspired about gardening, or you want your hands in the dirt, that's what we should be doing.
So right now, when I look around my house, most of the things in that house, they're made in China.
Yeah.
And so we're outsourcing
yeah.
Our business, our money, our responsibilities to other countries, and yet American citizens are going without employment. And back to what you said about war, just very briefly, the empirical evidence is that warfare is not a natural thing to us. We have U.S. military members committing suicide at the rate right now of about 15 to 18 per day. And more than 5,000 military members have committed suicide during this interval of 10 years that we've been involved with the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah. It's a problem. We can't do it. It's ultimately, we as a community, we as brothers, we have to walk with integrity. We are who we are. We can't change that. You can't just say, I need a job, so now I'm going to go join the military, and you don't realize what you're getting into when you make this commitment. And ultimately, we are loving people. You know, see this right here? In this here? We are lovers. Love is our nature. We're all about love. And while we have drives for survival and sex and power, and that's part of who we are, that's not who we are. And all of our life lessons are based on love. If you have an anger issue, if you're impatient or whatever funky energy you put out there, if you steal something, whatever you do, it's all coming back. This one connection here is really important to look at, this concept of our root chakra, which is our drive for survival. Goes right up here to the crown, which is basically to God. So the concept here is that we live in a glass house. There are no secrets. Nobody gets away with anything, especially us. And so why would you want to fool yourself on something? Our only opportunity, our only option really is complete honesty and to be your loving self. I only want to do good because I only want good back. And if we start changing our attitude, our perspective for one another, look at each one another as brothers, spiritual brothers here, then we can really make change. It's not, you have this body, but that's not you, whether you're from Iran or from Africa or wherever. You know, we have to get past this body business and recognize we're spiritual brothers here. Where we come from, who knows, and where we're going, who knows, but we're here today, and we're en route. And our business is all about the love.
So your show is going to be a very welcome component to our series of shows.
I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk about love.
Yeah.
And so what you have constructed here is a methodology in which we can have a conversation about the various components involved with love.
Right.
In comparison to, as we stated, the primitive state that we appear to be in today in our outlook towards each other. So what I'm hearing is that your objective is to be a catalyst in changing the way that we look at each other and making our environment and our community a more loving environment. Yeah.
This stuff here, these drawings are very powerful, and I can just get into a little bit. I'm not sure how much time we have.
We have about 6 minutes or so.
Okay.
We're down to the last 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, basically, love is in the past, has been a real tough project, a tough topic to talk about because it means so much. It's such a big number, you know, like I love cookies, you know, and I love my mom, and there's all these love things. What this Chakra Key gives us is a hierarchy, gives us a way to put love in a bit of a box. In that the concept is that there's lower aspects of love, like I love pizza, or I love the cookies would be down here. There's the concept of sex, and I love the sexual things, which can be a beautiful thing, and the concept of how you love money. And so all these things have power and energy, and we can explore those things. And then there's the big concept of love itself. And even love can be a stumbling block, because love walks in truth. And we're so complex, and you can have great chemistry with somebody and think, oh boy, I really love her, or I love him, or whatever. But you realize that while you might have chemistry and you feel this love here, you're in completely different worlds, and you know, it doesn't make sense or whatever. So the concept that love walks in truth. And then the concept of being able to sing and to talk beautifully and then to talk angrily. There's a whole issue with that. And the idea of our thoughts and how our thoughts can be good thoughts and we can be contemplating bad thoughts. Mm-hmm. So everything is a balance within all of this. And ultimately, we're mastering our life. We're a master of this amazing world. There's the hot and there's the cold. And so life is very much this thing of mastery, and ultimately it's a beautiful thing, but we have to master it. And to master it, we must know it. And so to know it, we have to be able to rationalize and to see it. And so it's have some mass to it, so we can kind of, you know, have a little place where we can put this and I can put that, and you can make better sense of it.
So what we have now is a method to quantify a conversation about love, utilizing your model here. And we're down to our last 3 minutes, and so what I need you to do very concisely is to state the action statement you want for the public and the final important thing that you want the public to know about your concept.
Well, the great action statement is to evaluate yourself, you know, to take a moment to consider yourself as a spiritual being, you know, because everything begins with, you know, who am I and what's it all about? And the idea is that we're all spiritual beings, we're all here to be loving, and what does love involve? Love involves kindness. Love is kind. Kindness is love. Love is patient. And patience is love. And the concept of compassion and charity and giving. And the idea that when we're working, when I'm giving to you, you have a chance to give to me. When I give to you, I love you. When you give to me, you love me.
So we've reached our last 2 minutes.
Okay.
And so what I want to encourage the public to do is to go to the Community Coalition website, and there you can find our YouTube videos that are going to be discussing this concept of chakra keys and love. You want to explore Rick's television shows that are going to be coming out before the end of 2011. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and I want to encourage you to come back and visit us once again. If you obtain our videos on YouTube and tell your family and friends about them, email them to them, and also watch us every Sunday here at Cox Communications on channel 1823 in San Diego. And Progress in San Diego comes on at 5, and at 6 p.m. we have Elise Smith Cooper's show, Community Issues, A Tapestry of Concerns. Every Wednesday we have Marilyn McLeod show, Consider the Possibilities, that comes on at 6 p.m. And on Thursdays we have Laura Thompson's Community Artist Connection. We're telling your stories. We want to convey the outstanding things that people are doing here in San Diego County and throughout the country and the world for that matter. Please consider becoming part of our studio audience and to learn television broadcasting, and by joining the San Diego County Community Coalition. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and please come back once again and tell your family and constituents about our broadcast. Thank you very much, and thank you, Rick, for
Thanks, Walter.
an outstanding presentation. Looking forward to you coming back again very soon.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Great.
Could love drive you to fly? Could hope be the only way? And would it be a crazy question? Would you take it all and throw it all away? Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. And the world will break apart today. Could freedom be between the lines? And joy a life foundation springing up to find that every thought will lead to nothing, no matter how hard you try to define. Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. I open my arms to the end of time. I got one hand on a mummy and the other on a green tree, orange-eyed gecko. I got one foot on a street in the village and the other in a mine under Colorado sunshine. Under Colorado sunshine. Could you stand in the way of progress? Could you laugh it off and say, I'd let it all fall down and let the rhymes come. I'd waste away and let the roots grow around some. Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. Take me down to the final decision, and the world will break apart today. And the world